All right, the Detroit Lions made a trade at the trade deadline only an hour before it, and I know it's not the trade that most of you wanted, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a good trade. Sorry for my pause. I heard my kid yelling upstairs. So, anyways, but you can't hear it through this mic. Anyways, if you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe. Let's talk about this trade. I'm going to tell you why it was the right move. I actually really like this move, and I'm going to go into depth about why. But first, let's see exactly what we gave up. And it's pretty simple. We opted to make a move 2025, a 2025, not 2024. Okay. 2025 sixth round pick to the Cleveland Browns for Donovan Peoples-Jones. So who is this guy? Who is Donovan Peoples-Jones? I know him well. Like me, hate me for it. Do whatever you want. I'm a big Wolverines fan. So I was used to seeing him at Michigan. And what I felt like Donovan Peoples-Jones was always this guy who could have been just a little bit better than he was. And part of that is just realizing that in Harbaugh's offense, he doesn't throw the ball to people over and over and over again. But also, it is kind of what he's been in the NFL as well. And he is a guy that is chock full of talent. He does certain things very, very well. And there are certain things he doesn't do as well. So let's get into some of those strengths and some of those weaknesses, but let's also figure out what we're getting as far as contract and what that could look like going forward. So, as you know, one of my go-to places is Spotrac, or Spot Track, whatever you want to call it. Donovan Peoples-Jones, look at, they already changed him to a lion. Isn't that beautiful? All right. By the way, this is a Detroit kid. He's coming home. So he is on the final year of his rookie contract. It was a sixth round pick. So he's an unrestricted free agent coming off of this. And they actually don't even say what his projected money will be. But he's a guy who, quite frankly, hasn't put up crazy stats. So he's not one of those guys that I think is going to demand a ton of money, even if he does play pretty well with us. Through the course of his career, as a rookie, at 14 catches for 300 yards. As in his second year, 34 catches for 600 yards. Okay, averaging 17.6 yards a catch. And then last year was more of a breakout year, 61 catches for 839 yards with a long of 42 yards. So there's a couple things that I found to be really interesting. In this article that I was showing you before, and I'll go back to it again, the Browns writer actually said, what happened in 2023? Because this year, his stats aren't great. 8 catches for 97 yards. He's just not finding the field. All right. Part of that's because they got Elijah Moore, and so they're not playing him as much. But he calls DPJ a breakout waiting to happen since Odell called him that. He said that last year, Jacoby Brissett threw a beautiful deep ball and really focused on throwing passes only to receivers who are running their best routes. Amari Cooper and Peoples-Jones were the only wide receivers to have more than 24 receptions and more than 35 targets. Great. That sounds good in theory. Here's the problem with that. Last year, Donovan Peoples-Jones averaged 13.8 yards per catch. Is that all deep balls? Like if I think of a guy who's running all deep balls, I'm thinking of what he did the year before in 2021, where he averaged 17.6 yards per catch. So this whole idea of he's only gotten deep balls last year is not true. And yes, he's good at that, but he at the same time can do a little bit of everything. And I think that it was the quarterback play this year that has doomed him, and the ad of Elijah Moore. I'm not saying he's coming to Detroit and he's going to immediately be phenomenal, but I'm telling you right now, he should be Josh Reynolds. He should be better than Josh Reynolds is what he should be. So, anyways, if you look at the RAS for Donovan Peoples-Jones, which is another thing that I absolutely love doing. He has a RAS of 9.63, and I'm going to show this to you. I'll put it in. I'll find it. There you go. All right. So here you go. You all can see it. All right. So Donovan Peoples-Jones, that is a phenomenal RAS score, RAS, coming out in 2020. And where you see he's good to elite is vertical and broad jump. He is an absolute jumper. Raz, which is as good as it gets. His speed is good and his size is good, which ends up putting him in a really good category because he can do everything. He can do everything. So he's got here's the other side of it too. When Khalif Raymond got a little hurt on one of those punt returns against the Raiders, you could tell he got a little shook up. I'm like, oh man, who's our next punt returner? Donovan Peoples-Jones has been a punt returner for the Browns for a long time. So why do I think that this is the right move at the trade deadline? The Detroit Lions have their number one wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have another speed guy that has proven to make a huge difference, which is Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay. They have Jamison Williams, who can take the top off of a defense and allows him to do those certain things. Donovan Peoples-Jones comes in as a guy that can threaten for deep, that can take the top off of a defense while Jamison continues to develop. All right. Is this great for Jamison Williams? Probably not. But what happens? What happens if Josh Reynolds gets hurt? What happens if St. Brown gets hurt? What happens if Williams gets hurt? Like, we are thin there, whether we like to argue that or not. We were playing Marvin Jones, who couldn't catch a ball for the first 4, 5, 6 games of this season. If Donovan Peoples-Jones comes in and just plays a solid third or fourth wide receiver, that's all we need him to be. And he could help us on kick returns. He can help us on punt returns. He's not going to be our punt returner, but he absolutely can help on that. He can do all of these things. That's why I think that this is good. And then if you want to re-sign him, if you like what he's doing, to stay on your club, to stay on your team as a solid, proven wide receiver, you can do that for not that much money. So keep him around here. I like the play. It makes sense to me. All right. So it makes a lot more sense than bringing Tom Kennedy back, which I did a video on last time. So, anyways, that's why this trade makes sense to me. Let me know if you like it. Let me know if it makes sense to you, and appreciate you watching. Thank you. And hey, you know what? We'll see you on the next one. Go Lions.